This is Howie Sandberg for Northeast Hardcore Wrestling. Today I am back with a preview of the upcoming Deviant Behavior pay-per-view on Friday, January 21st. Ladies and gentlemen, the card is loaded. So many great matches, so much to cover. We're going to get in depth, in great detail, talking about all of the matches, all of the feuds, and we will start with Double H versus Chaos Knight. You will recall this all started late summer, early fall, late summer, we'll say. Chaos Knight Jr., newcomer on the scene, graduated to the big time. Double H was not happy about this. He felt like the only reason Chaos Knight Jr. made it to Northeast was because of his father, the legendary Chaos Knight Sr., and that he was taking full advantage of his last name. He vowed to make an example out of Chaos Knight Jr. He had scathing comments. That is par for the course with Double H. He is vicious, verbally and physically. There's no doubt about that. He called Chaos Knight Jr. a greenhorn. He said that if he has one half the talent of his father, he would have no talent. They met at Bedlam in Brooklyn, the biggest show of the NEHW year, in a hardcore match, and in a surprising upset, Chaos Knight Jr. reigned supreme. Now, Double H would get his win back on an episode of Total Anarchy, but the feud between the Knights was far from over. What did Double H do? While the Knights were wrestling on another episode of Total Anarchy, he broke into the home of the Knights and allegedly slipped Nightshade, Chaos Knight Sr.'s wife, a roofie, and teased having had some sort of sexual encounter with her. It doesn't get any more personal than that. Breaking into a man's home, going after his wife? Sick, appalling. Chaos Knight Sr. would fight fire with fire, my friend, as he would embarrass Double H in front of the whole world, getting his hands on a sex tape from the year 2001 of Double H fornicating with Kim Kong in a very telling video where Double H was blinded, a French tickler was laying next to him, S&M action. Folks, we didn't want to see that. Wrestlers backstage would poke fun at Double H. The fans would taunt Double H with chants of "Meatloaf, Meatloaf," as well as "You Kim Kong, you Kim Kong." So here we are. It will be Double H versus Chaos Knight in a bitter personal feud that will culminate in a match at Deviant Behavior. In other action, the World Tag Team Champions, The Religion, Bishop Hell and Deacon Damian Damnable, will take on the legendary Underdog Spectacular Steve Seneca and Relentless Ricky Magnum. This is the first shot the Underdogs have had at these World Tag titles, which is quite remarkable given the fact that the Underdogs have been in the promotion for almost a year and a half. Very surprising. They are just now getting a title shot, but the time has finally come. Recently, the Underdogs were being interviewed by one Amy Salty Salters. And the Religion came into view and offered them a spot, not just a spot, not just your dog spot, not just a liver spot, but a spot in the religion. They tried to convert them to the religion, which seems to be a recurring theme for the underdogs, being recruited into groups. First, it was the Lords of Hardcore that tried and failed, and now it was the religion that tried and failed. In the process, the underdogs would mock the religion, calling them child molesters, saying and singing a condescending, comical song by one John LeJoie. The religion was not happy about this. They would strike from behind, leaving Ricky Magnum in a world of pain. The religion versus the underdogs for the NEHW World Tag Team titles at Deviant Behavior. In another tag team match, it will be a 6-man tag, a ladder match, a Money in the Bank ladder match, where the winner will be able to cash in that contract for a shot at the aforementioned World Tag Team Championships at any point in time. This match will consist of the Iron Warriors, the reigning tag team of the year, managed by the nefarious, the conniving, the little worm, the obnoxious Larry Sauer, Sweet Larry Sauer. Also in this match will be 2 hardcore MFers, Manu and Deadbolt Darrell. Heart and Soul, the XS Express, and once again I'll say everybody loves those little guys from Chippendales. Rounding out the 6-man match will be the Dirty Dicks. I just love the enunciation of that. The Dirty Dicks. It just kind of rolls off the tongue. But guys, can't you get those Johnsons cleaned up a little bit? Maybe get them shaved. These are COVID times. You don't want to be walking around with dirty junk. Not a good idea. Not a good look. And rounding out the 6-man tag team match will be the Devil's Own, the Red Hot Devil's Own, that have 2 straight victories over the Knights. They have been dominant representing the cartel. The Intercontinental Championship will be up for grabs in a bitter feud that is culminating in a match that is nearly 1 year in the making. Princess Peter defends against Khalil the Lion. You will remember there was bad blood last year between these men. Peter had courted Khalil. He had taken him on a date to the Olive Garden. How romantic. How romantic. Sancho made an appearance and serenaded the two in song. Maybe a Mexican ballad. Khalil wasn't having it. He was not comfortable with these advances. He was not comfortable with the situation. And can you really blame him? What happened after that was the Reverend Cecil Biaman. He corrupted Khalil the Lion. This is an evil reverend, God rest his soul. But he kidnapped Peter. He convinced Khalil to join in, and they tried electric shock therapy to shock the gayness out of him. Well, it didn't work. Clearly, it did not work. Khalil became very, very frustrated with the whole situation, with the over-the-top, flamboyant, and controversial Peter, in his eyes, plaguing Northeast hardcore wrestling. And as a result, he departed to California. Now he is back. You will recall Total Anarchy. Peter was on the receiving end of a brutal beatdown by the returning Khalil. The crowd loved this. They absolutely loved this. Khalil made his shocking return and beat Peter and Bubba the prison guard with a crowbar. Peter claims that they do not like him because he is gay. Khalil reiterates, no, that is not the case. It is not because you are gay, Peter. It is because you're an asshole. Will Khalil be able to take the Intercontinental title as well as Peter's pride? Or will Peter show that it's not good to judge a book by its cover? Will he retain? Man is supremely talented, despite how it may appear. Khalil is a muscular, powerful individual. So Peter must be careful. Khalil will win the power game. There is no doubt about it. It's a fascinating matchup. Elsewhere, we have Brock the Pulverizer going one-on-one with God's Herald Legion Cage, the leader of the cartel. Brock made his surprise appearance at the end of a recent Total Anarchy. Then, on the last show, Legion Cage rushed the ring. It looked like he was going to attack Brock. Brock turned around. Cage tried to play it off cool. Hey, buddy, I'm just here to say hello and shake your hand. Brock wasn't having it. Jackknife powerbomb, short ride, bad landing. Brock would say, I'm not your friend. I'll see you at Deviant Behavior. These men have history dating back to Canadian Pride Wrestling in the IWF. Legion Cage was arguably the most dominant CPW world champion in that company's history. But Brock the Pulverizer would take that championship. So what will happen in this match with the 7-footer? What a specimen he is, Brock the Pulverizer, taking on God's Herald Legion Cage, who has all kinds of credentials and has been on quite a roll himself since arriving in Northeast Hardcore Wrestling. In other action, More to Love Billy Johnson will square off with Big Dick Bastard. It will be the first ever IWF. What's IWF? Where is my mind? FWA. The first ever FWA cockfight. I do not mean that in the literal sense, but it will be a big dick. I wrote it kind of big, Howard. As you can see, I'm holding it up. It's a big dick going up against a Johnson. Billy Johnson has always been booed by the fans. Well, he was recently cheered, coming out to the ring in a gown, in a wheelchair, with his Billy's babes. These babes were nurses. One in particular was a head nurse. Billy said these are hard times. You will also recall that Billy was attacked backstage by Big Dick Bastard, hence the hospital stay. Hence the reason this match is happening. Billy Johnson will be looking for revenge at Deviant Behavior. Big Dick Bastard makes his pay-per-view debut. There is much, much more, ladies and gentlemen. Awesome Force will be taking on the Mud Show outlaw Iggy Crumb, the man that is responsible for bringing wrestling backwards hundreds of years, a Neanderthal who does not know a wrist lock from a wristwatch. His idea of a wrestling move is smashing somebody over the head with a light tube. Just how far will this man go at Mistletoe Madness in the Hardcore War Games match? He climbed to the top of the cage and performed a coffin drop 20 feet down. He crashed into Ricky Magnum, breaking the table. The only thing saving him was being insulated by Ricky Magnum, breaking the fall. But my goodness, this man is a daredevil? This man is a sociopath? Does this man have CTE? Amy Salters recently interviewed Awesome Force and said, or asked the question, how do you prepare for a backyard wrestling match? Awesome Force offered this. How about walking on coals that are over 1,000, hot coals that are over 1,000 degrees in temperature, and then proceeding to stand on them for 60 seconds. He said my feet are strong. My feet are strong, Amy Salters. Sounds like a Chappelle Show bit to me, but regardless. Or perhaps you prepare by sticking yourself in a cage full to the brim with worms, not being able to move a muscle. The point Awesome Force was making is that there is no way to adequately prepare for a backyard wrestling match. And if Iggy Crumb is willing to die just to get a pop, just imagine what he would be willing to do to Awesome Force. Awesome Force said he's not worried about it. He's got the sleeper hold that he's perfected. He's got the GTS at his disposal. He teased that something else would be in the works for Iggy Crumb in this backyard death match. We will see. This whole issue started when Iggy Crumb projectile vomited on Awesome Force. That's how it all started in the first place. And then Awesome Force confronted Crumb backstage. The two exchanged words. Awesome Force called Iggy Crumb a mark, just a jobber that Rhino Reagan hired to put over stars like him. Iggy Crumb said, Awesome Force, you're calling me a mark? I'm not the one with the cardboard cutout of HBK Shawn Michaels. It was quite the heated exchange. Now, it will get even more physical. There's more. There's much, much more to the Deviant Behavior pay-per-view. Let us talk about the double main event. Should we go there? Should we go there? Let's do it. Hitman Howie Sandberg, The Office Freddie Fuller, exploding ring match. The story is well documented. We will not get into it. Everybody knows it. The Hitman finally extracted a measure of revenge this Monday night when he locked the Maestro in a sharpshooter. Freddie Fuller dodged harm's way. The Maestro did not. It's been a long time coming, but the Maestro finally got his comeuppance. This was almost the inverse of what happened at Hardcore War Games. In this instance, Fuller was forced to watch the Maestro have the living crap beat out of him. There was nothing he could do about it. You will remember at Hardcore War Games, the hitman was stopped dead in his tracks. And he lay down for Fuller to save his best friend Awesome Force from being lit on fire. One thing is for sure, ladies and gentlemen, although these two have not gotten their hands on each other as of late, they sure will in the Exploding Ring match. Both men are not strangers to this match. Last year at Deviant Behavior, the Hitman fell in a hard-fought match between himself and Big Dread Vedder. At Fall Brawl, Freddie Fuller was defeated by John E. Legend in that same Exploding Ring match. Something has to give in this match. One of these men will get to the pay window. One of these men will be on the winning side of the ledger. This bitter feud looks like it's finally coming to an end. Ladies and gentlemen, there is so much anticipation for the main event of the evening. Johnny Legend, the three-time Northeast Hardcore Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion, will defend against a man who has quite the impressive win-loss record with just maybe 2 blemishes on his record since arriving in Northeast Hardcore Wrestling. A man who wins big match after big match. A man who has run talent out of Northeast. We're talking about the Loner. We're talking about Dante Deacon. We're talking about Big Dread Vedder. Will Johnny Legend be next? It will be Johnny Legend versus the silent assassin Ryu with Mr. Matsumoto in his corner. Heel versus heel, you say? Yes, it is. But on this night, we fully expect a raucous Boston crowd to fully support their man, hometown legend. Well, he is a legend, John E. Their boy, if you will have their support in this matchup. The show on Monday took place in Portland, Maine. Also Johnny Legend country, there was a contract signing. In this contract signing, Ryu, or more specifically, Mr. Matsumoto, had some biting words for Johnny Legend, who barked back using some stereotypical Asian remarks. Mr. Fuji, he called Matsumoto. Mr. Miyagi? He said, in response to being called a tool, he said to Matsumoto, "How would you know if I'm a tool? You can't even open your eyes to see it." Hashtag Asian hate. Bad blood here. The two men were a part of an epic triple threat match at Mistletoe Madness that saw Legend walk out as champion. Ryu thought that he had the match won after executing the impressive finishing maneuver known as Broken Silence. It looked like he would get the pin on Runo, Ravishing Rude Runo, but no, the opportunistic Johnny Legend slid Ryu off of him after hitting him in the back with a steel chair wrapped in barbed wire, and he stole the pin. Ravishing Rude Runo, incidentally, very impressive in this matchup. He is not booked for this show, but it bears mentioning. All three men, highly impressive. This one will be one-on-one. Who? Johnny Legend asks. This is a match between two of the most talented superstars in the FWA today. Johnny Legend, whether you like him or not, he is known as the 5-tool player for a reason. This kid has it all, the youngest world champion in the history of this business. A fantastic in-ring performer, shades of the late, great Mr. Perfect, mixed with maybe a little Chris Jericho with a game-over finisher, code breaker. Great promo, great look. There's nothing this man cannot do. His time has come. It's come early, but it's already come. Ryu has already shown time and time again just how great of a wrestler he is. Matsumoto and Lisa Lovely, sure, they've interfered on his behalf. But if we're being real, Ryu is supremely talented and he does not need the backup. But he'll have it on this night. Will Johnny Legend become a former world champion once again? Will the silent assassin Ryu silence Legend's fans, hometown fans, at the TD Garden, in Boston? Folks, Deviant Behavior is shaping up to be one of the great pay-per-views, one of the best pay-per-views the FWA has seen. It is shaping up to be a show that you do not want to miss. And there I say, Howie, think to yourself, are there any matches that you forgot to talk about during this podcast? That would be a shame, right? If I forgot something. Well, we covered the main event. We covered Sandberg versus Fuller. We covered Brock versus Cage. We covered Peter versus Khalil. We covered the Underdogs versus The Religion. We covered the 6 tag team Money in the Bank ladder match. We covered Double H and Chaos Knight, Awesome Force, and Iggy Crumb, as well as Billy Johnson and Big Dick Bastard. That about covers it. If I did forget to mention a match, I do apologize. Friday, January 21st, live, only on pay-per-view. The show is brought to you by Northeast Hardcore Wrestling. And the official theme song is Voices by Shaman's Harvest. If you haven't heard the song, give it a listen. Shaman's Harvest, very underrated band. If you're into southern rock and roll, you should really enjoy this song. Thank you to Shaman's Harvest for providing the sound for this pay-per-view extravaganza. Just 2 weeks away. Folks, enjoy the show. I will be back to recap the show. For Northeast Hardcore Wrestling, this has been Howie Sandberg, and I will talk to you on the proverbial flip side.